All right. Hi, this is Attican, and welcome to Series 4, Episode 5 of Manor Lords. We are playing for a Steam achievement called Challenge Accepted. We have to win Restoring the Peace with the challenging preset difficulty. And we're doing okay. Now, this one's a little different. I played it without talking, and I'm talking afterwards. So I'm commenting on what I see. So we're just going to kind of watch this together. And what I decided to do is just really get into growing these cities. I think I'm playing way too slowly. I'm boring myself playing so slowly. So what I want to do is be more aggressive in building and build up cities faster and that kind of thing. So I'm just going to keep going with the same idea of the 8 families. Outside ones are veggies that wrap around everything else or go over everything else. And then the 4 on the inside are meant to be leveled up to be like artisan shops and stuff like that. And you'll see it later on in this. You'll see very much so in this city what I'm talking about. So there's that road that keeps coming back every time I reload. The road comes back. So I don't know what to say about that. So as I said, I'm just going to aggressively build here and try to bump the cities up. And so I'm just going to kind of shut up and we'll just watch it together. And if anything interesting happens, in the unlikely event that I do something interesting here, I will make a comment on it and we'll just go. Now, I want to move over to the warehousing model. I think of it as 2 things. I think of it as the remote markets, individual markets set up by hunters and woodcutters and tanners and what have you near where they work as your starting setup, and then you need to morph to a warehouse system. We're also looking at the money and thinking, okay, well, what's good, what's bad? What's good is we're playing okay. What's bad, really bad, is we don't have any influence, we don't have any money. So now that our starting region, Nuslo, it has some money and has decent trade and the ability to keep making money, we're going to tax them 10% and tithe at 10% for a while, being very, very careful that the amount of money in Nuslo doesn't start slipping so that we're starting to get 10% of nothing, right? So we want 10% of a fair amount of money, and we really, though, do need some money now, because if there's any fighting to be done, and there will be regardless. I mean, if we're attacked, we're going to have to fight. If we decide we want to expand, which we do, we're going to need military. We're going to need mercenaries and or improved retinue, that kind of thing. Now, by the way, I sent out the poll for how do we want to play this, and by a margin of like 4-1, people would like to see multiple regions with bartering between the regions. So that's what we're going to try to do, is develop several. We're going to kind of develop regions, build them up to be good-sized villages where they can support militia units, and set up militia in each one, and just kind of gradually get bigger and bigger and bigger, and just take more and more land. And each time we get a new region, we'll build it up in some form or fashion and put it in the bartering system in some way, so that they're contributing to the overall region, and so that the overall region is contributing to them, right? So we settle a new region, and we find a way to find something they can contribute to everybody else, and find something everybody else can send to them. So we'll see how far we take that, and we may not need to do amazing amounts of bartering, but we will try to lean toward that and see how we can take it. See what we think about the bartering system. So again, I'm just going to keep expanding here. I'm going to keep doing the little, as I said, the 8 family vegetable setups here in Emmenruth till we have kind of a critical mass of vegetables. I feel like we've already reached that point over here in New Slow. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We've got 6. But it wouldn't kill us to have a few more, couple more veggies plots. As Jadabak pointed out in a comment, there's the community, in air quotes, playing this game and talking to one another. The big thing with veggies now is a Tacticat design, which is they call the Bender, which honestly, if you look at what we're building, they're very close to it. But you take 2x3 corpse pits and put them out there, circle them with a road, delete 3 like corner and delete a corner so that you have 3 left. Use those as boundaries. Build a 2 double wide within one of them. Then delete the corpse pits and build a double wide in the other one. And you get 2 very efficient from a land use point of view setups, because your 2 houses kind of tend to be right in the corner, and you get a whole lot of farmable, garden land. The method we're using here has slightly less garden land, but more than enough. And in fact, I think it's a mistake to make too big a vegetable plot. I've played around with this and with the Bender, and I don't think it's a good idea to make them too big too early if you're relying on the vegetables as a food source. Now, if you're not relying on them early, that's fine. You can set them up big, and eventually when you grow to have level 3 housing, they just produce vegetables at a tremendous rate. It's very, very nice. And the ones we have here, I'm not trying to defend them or justify them. It's just that's how I wanted to do it. I wanted to do something different, and also I promise you they're very effective. Now here we are. If we're going to build these houses out near the work spots, out near the farms, then it just makes sense to have the staff who live out there work in those farmhouses. So that means that we displaced a few jobs out here, and we're just going to go out and put those workers back in, so that we haven't lost any workers in the process. And we've got our berry gathering has filled up. The forage huts are full, so we're just going to build another forage hut to give us 50 more storage space, put a worker back in that, and go from there. So one of the things I've always done, this is just a personal thing as far as when you play a game like this, a city builder kind of game, I tend to sit and watch it a lot. It's a little weird, yes. I tend to sit and watch the gameplay and just kind of, my cities kind of sit there, right? And really is a more element to all city builder games, and this one included. You don't have to have big giant villages, and large towns everywhere and everything, but you really should if you're going to try to, get the job done. So I'm trying to break that habit of mine and just keep building, keep building. So that's really, again, that's kind of what's happening here. Just build. I've been playing with pack stations to see how to get our bartering done, and it took a while. It took a lot of experimenting. It took a lot of experimentation to figure out that the pack stations would indeed get barley straight out of those farmhouses. So what we've got there, we're building a pack station here in Emmenruth, and we're going to send barley to New Slow. Now, that, because barley is less valuable than what we'd like to have back, weapons, it's not going to really get us weapons, but interestingly enough, it will get barley over to New Slow, which will allow us to have some L coverage and go from there. Now, I had very much considered flipping all these farms. All these farms they're sets of 3 where you're growing 1 barley field, 1 wheat field, and 1 fallow field every season. And I had strongly considered just making them all barley. And may come back to that. I may set up another area where Emmer is very fertile. You know, Emmer's all over the map, right? And that's typical. Emmer fertility is typically good. In a fertile region, Emmer is usually quite good everywhere. The barley's the one that you have to kind of hunt, you have to seek the barley patches. And that's what we did here, but we've got them half barley, half wheat. So let me know in the comments what you guys do. I'm thinking about making them all barley, because you need a lot of barley to keep a decent sized city drunk, to put it simply. But how do you guys do it? Do you tend to alternate crops, or do you just alternate fallow and the crop that you're trying to get? So here we're setting up anticipating the fact that barley is going to come. So what we're going to try to do is set up a nice, efficient little setup here where we've got a malt house, the tavern, and our brewer right here next to each other. So once we can upgrade this house, this burgage plot to level 2, it'll become a brewer, and we'll have the little triangle of malt house, brewer, ale house, or tavern rather, right next to each other, and we can have the barley come over and efficiently make and deliver our ale to our settlement. Down there below, I'm also another thing that the slow building I was talking about. One of the things that's frustrating me is I think I'm constantly waiting on timber. So, question for you: how many logging camps do you typically have? Do you have multiple running at one time? I'm finding that this waiting for timber is getting old. I think it's hurting my play. It's slowing me down. When you're sitting here waiting just to get 4 timber to build something, that slows you down. So I'm thinking multiple logging camps going down the road, and probably what we'll do is experiment with maybe the next region having several logging camps to see if we like that better. So you can see we're already starting to get barley into New Slow. What we're not doing is taking anything back. So you can set up barter from the producer of the least valuable good and send those goods to the producer of a bigger value good you'd like to get back, and you will get the one-way delivery. So it is a way to deliver goods, but you're getting nothing in return. You can see there's no weapons in Emmenruth, and so nothing's coming back, but we are getting barley over there. So you almost have to it's a shame in a way. You almost have to think of it as one-way trips, and you're just delivery trips. And if you want to go send weapons back, you almost have to think of a way to deliver them, which we'll see here in a little bit. So they're their brewer. We've already staffed the tavern and the malt house. We now have once that's set, once that brewery has been updated or built, once the brewery extension has been built, I should say, then we will have our entertainment set up, a nice efficient one there, and we should be good to go to upgrade some houses to level 3. Now, at this point, I haven't been as aggressively building new slow as I should have been. But of course, we're waiting on timber as well. But I do want to start growing it. And what's going to happen is I'm going to figure out, wait a minute, I want more militia. I'm making all these beautiful weapons in New Slow. New Slow needs to be a big city where I can have multiple militia units. So the plan going ahead is trying to keep the pedal to the metal, so to speak, and continually build up New Slow so that we can just have multiple strong militia units with really good armor and the whole bit. And that's what we're working on. Now here we're moving to the warehouse model in Immenruth, so we're starting to take away the food stalls, take them away from our food gatherers, and set up a marketplace in Immenruth so that we can have food stalls there. Take me a minute to realize that I've deleted that marketplace in the main one that we planned out right there next to the granary, and I'll come back and fix that. So here we go. Now we can get level 3 housing because we've got our L coverage, so we have some entertainment. Now you'll notice here I'm going through and picking out those veggie ones and making those into upgrading them either to level 2 or in that first case level 3. The plan is to have our first level 3 burgage plots that we build be those vegetable gardens, because that way you get multiple workers on them to do the farming and stuff like that, and you get larger storage, and you don't lose those workers because you'll get 4 families there, and they will all be out ready, able to go work other jobs. Whereas if we had if we took let's say our first blacksmith shop, and upgraded it to level 3, then you would get another family to move in there, but at the same time, that other family would just be helping the blacksmith. They wouldn't go out and do another job. So you'd be feeding another family, which wasn't actually adding to your production in your city. So I wanted to target the veggie garden guys first, because they are, they're supporting society. Now here's where I'd forgotten about the market stall. There actually isn't a market stall in here. I realized it. Oh, that's right. I put it down and made the roads, and then didn't build it. So I wish I'd put the road back first, but it doesn't matter. Built the market area, so now that granary can actually go up and set up his market stalls, and now we can build housing off of that and keep going. So here I'd set up the saw pit reserve to 20, trying to get more timber. But then again, you also need the lumber, especially to do these upgrades to level 3. So I turned it back down to 10. And again, I think it's just you need timber, you need saw pits kind of a thing to make this work. It's more, and I need to get more into that. Again, let me know what you think. Do you tend to play and really aggressively grow your village, or do you tend to build a bunch of small villages? How do you like to play, and what do you find? What are the pros and cons of either style? Now we're making good money. We've got these plots that are single family. They're not going to have artisan shops in them. Why not? Why not? Chickens, occasional goats. Why not? Chickens are great. They're just a steady food source. They don't cost you any labor whatsoever except for your granary worker to go pick up the eggs. So as long as you have a decent granary system working, you can have these chicken coops and have there's one food source that literally costs you no labor. I think they're superior to veggies in many ways, and one of the ways is the fact that it's passive income, that the burgage plot itself is not doing any extra work in order to provide those eggs, and it just comes down to how good a job are you going to do with your granary, picking them up and getting them into market. Now, I think that Nuslo is a great illustration of how those remote markets, where you build them out, like where the woodcutter is running a market. This is a great illustration of how it's so much more efficient to have a setup with a central market and warehousing people who are running the marketplaces. So that's what we're going to do here. Is we're going to blow up the marketplaces here and take that responsibility off of the woodcutter and the charcoal kiln, and have warehouse people do that job to gather up the firewood and to stock the market stall, and allow our woodcutters and charcoal kiln folks to do their thing without having that extra burden. And it's just it's way more efficient at the end of the day. Now, you do, of course, obviously need the people to run your stalls, right? These warehouse workers are folks that you need. But again, what you should be doing is growing your village big enough and fast enough so that you can have those people. So once we can kind of get some growth in our city, then we're going to have a much more efficient fuel system, and the same amount of fuel gatherers will produce much more fuel at the end of the day, because they won't be spending 1/3 of their time pedaling at a stall, right? So here we go. Now we're continuing to target those veggie gardens with the level 3, and you can kind of see there what the look is, and we'll do a little look at it later on and see how nice it looks. Now our fuel is slowly getting gathered back up. We actually knocked our fuel delivery down, so for a moment there was no fuel, and it's in the middle of the winter, of course. What else would you cut off the fuel? And it's coming back up, and it's coming back nicely, no problem. Okay, we got our third level 3. Now we've got a new development point in New Sloan. We've got to figure out how to spend it. And I'm finally punching in and doing the math on the families and saying, hey, I need even more housing. I need I need enough people to have multiple militia units. And we're starting to get good coverage on everything. So build. All right, so we're going to do the same process here. Just want to make sure we had woodcutter's range was actually at a place where you could cut wood, and we're going to start staffing our storehouse and taking advantage of that central market. And we're going to knock down the marketplace here that the woodcutter had and take off his ability to run a market. And that way he can focus on cutting wood. And again, he'll be more efficient, and our fuel delivery should be more efficient. We're also going to set up our castle, and I haven't gotten into building the nice castles yet. I think we should. I think they're cool looking, but that right there is what you need. You need the manor, and you need the garrison tower so that you can have a larger retinue. And so lay that down. Now I want to get more logging here in Emlenruth, and actually so low on logs I'm just going to move the logging camp out here where the trees are, and try to start to address the issue of getting logs quickly by doing this. So set it up on high priority, make sure it gets built first, and go. And there you can see the same thing. The fuel drops to 0. Nobody likes it, but give these warehouse workers a little bit of time, and they will just making sure we've got a firewood stall there being run. And in a while, the workers will go out, gather up what we need, and get us a fuel delivery system to our villagers that works. And here I'm just setting it up so that we're only taking in the barley if we need to, and the hides and leather, and the firewood and charcoal. And charcoal, of course, really is irrelevant in this city. And leaving on the weapons so that we can start doing trade, and we have a place to store weapons if we haven't already opened up recruiting a militia, and a place to put barley if it overflows. And we want to get that leather and make sure we don't hurt for the leather, but I don't want to store the shoes, because in this game you can truly become overrun by shoes. And I think the best way to handle that, other than if you want a whole mess of shoes to trade or whatever, that's fine. But if you don't, the best way to handle that is don't store the shoes. That way your shoes will be limited to how many can go over to the trading post to be traded, and how many can be stored at the cobbler's burgage plot. So it's time to pick a direction. And then I realized, I was double checking to make sure we were getting good coverage and all that. But then I realized this is our weapon shop. This is where we make this is our military base, so to speak. So keep going down that and get that mail armor. So we want to get a level 2 burgage plot where we can put another armor maker and have them make the chain mail, I guess it's called, the chain mail armor, which is an upgrade and which will go on our spear militia. And now our spear militia will have spears, wooden shields, chainmail armor, and helmets. In other words, they're going to be pretty strong. And look at this. Look at this. We have our opponent is trying to grab one of our regions. We only have 2, and he wants one of them. So we're going to form another militia unit. So we've got 2 full militia. At this point, they have helmets and spears and wooden shields, so they're pretty good. And of course, they don't have the chain on it. And here's a mistake. I want to point this out. What I've been doing is rallying the troops, then saying, don't run, and then telling him to go somewhere off in the distance. Well, I think what happens is, until they actually reach their first rally point, they are still, until they stop moving and gather together, let me put it like that, they're still rallying. Even though you kind of interrupted the rally and told them to walk, they're still rallying. So what happens is that the banner drags behind the people, and we've seen this. It cost us, one of the playthroughs, it cost us a bunch of troops because of that. And it almost, I think it does here as well, if I'm not mistaken. But it would be much better to rally your troops nearby, like in the town, and let them all arrive there and then move them, because then they'll move normally, right? But if they're still rallying, you get that lag between their movement and their banner movement, and you can get that strange behavior where you give them another order, like fight these guys or form a line or whatever, and there'll actually be this giant delay where they're just going every which way, trying to sync up the banner with the troops before they can move ahead. And that is to be avoided at all costs if you're in combat. So lesson learned there. Let them rally somewhere, and after they're there, then you can give them commands to move, and they'll behave like they should, or as they should. So we built the corpse pit here. We're going to kind of the medieval welcome center, and with the intent of fighting right around here. Doesn't quite work out like that because of the timing of when troops arrive. But anyway, so what we're trying to do here before we accept that, fight that claim, we want to gather our troops where the battle's going to be, and we want to go out and get all the militia we can, mercenaries. We want to get all the mercenaries we can and get them headed there as well, and get them as close to that as we can get. And that way we have a better chance of having a decent military where we need them when the battle occurs, because his army is just going to come from wherever. And if it comes from nearby, like, see this, look at this. They started there. They had a better starting place than we did, even though his 2 regions that he controlled are way, way off in the distance. But since he's basically doing mercenaries, they start somewhere else. So now we've got this split force. We have a split force. He's got his whole group coming in, kind of right up the middle, if you will, and we're split. Now the good news is if we do it right, we'll be able to flank him. However, it's very, very hard to, well, let me back up. I suck at fighting. Okay, I'm telling you this as if I needed to tell you. If anybody can watch this and say that, but see here's that behavior I'm talking about. See how they're running back and forth like that. They're trying to kind of get organized where they're rallying. Look how they're actually being attacked as that's happening. Our retinue is actually being attacked by that archer to the point where I contemplated having him attack the archer, and realized no, I don't want to run him in there with all those other troops and take a chance on getting him in a 1-on-4 kind of deal. So what I'm trying to do is get around these guys and get back into a spot where we can all come together and fight. I can't say it's necessarily working. Now both sides. See, he's still rallying. See how that was messed up? From now on, he'll work okay. And now this is the weirdest thing. I don't know what to say about this, but he just surrendered. I guess I don't know if he looked at it and said, "Oh my word, I can't win this," but I think that's a mistake. It was so weird that I'm almost tempted to just go back and play again, but I just I can't do this again. So I don't know why that happened, but we won the battle even though he had multiple soldiers. You can see here I'm saying, okay, well maybe I could fight them and win some honor, but then I realized no, you're chasing him into a bunch of others. But it doesn't matter because they're all running away. They've decided it's over. So, have you ever had this happen to you? I mean, I guess we should be thankful. We could have lost this battle, but you know what? Maybe I am a brilliant general and just didn't realize it. He's just looking at this and saying, "There's no way I can win." But anyway. We won the battle. That was anticlimactic, to put it mildly. I think that was a mistake. So we're going to send our home troops back. I'm going to hold off for a minute here with the mercenaries. We don't have to pay them for 15 days and pay them another payment. And I want to see. Yeah, here we go. Look at this. There are raiders coming in, so. We're just going to send all our mercenaries down here and try to cut off the raiders and get them. As you can see, his main army is leaving, but 4 raiders are coming in. I think they're completely independent of his main army. And in fact, I think, now that I'm watching it like this, I think, you can't see it in the trees, but I think his main army will end up fighting off our raiders. See, look at that. Broken. His main army is actually fighting the raiders. And the raiders are running off. We got out of this so we're so lucky. We're so lucky. This just couldn't have worked out better because he, strangely enough, surrendered to us. And then the raiders came and hit at the same time, which could have been really bad. I mean, I've had other playthroughs where, you get raided at the same time you're all fighting and your village just gets annihilated. But look at this. This is so weird. And we've got deaths. We've got to clean up the bodies. And we lost one of our retinue, and we're going to go ahead and bump up the one from enemies as best we can, and celebrate our victory, I guess. And you'll notice we got a little bit of influence for fighting that off, I guess, and maybe for surviving the raiders, which our the other lord took care of for us. So now one thing I've noticed is the game is not doing a really smooth job. See, it thinks right now we're in Emenruth. See that name up at the top? Or what? I'm sorry, we are in Emenruth. Forgive me. But the game really does. There'll be times when you're in Emenruth looking at it and you'll see Nuslo's stats and you're going, I've got all this timber, why can't I build something? Or vice versa. It doesn't always slide back and forth quite as easily, and I haven't quite gotten the figured out the pattern to know what to do to try to avoid that issue. All right, so let's wrap up this one right there. We continued to grow. We fought that very strange, very lucky battle, and trust me, I've tried other times. I've even reloaded this, replayed it with a totally different result. I mean, we still won, but it was a battle. I didn't record it, unfortunately, or I would show it to you. But don't worry, we'll have some battles, I'm sure. I don't think that the enemy will just up and concede everything to us like that. That was just a perfect storm of things. And maybe it's because he was surrounded. We had our troops coming in, and then the raiders did us a favor. They just came in from the perfect spot in the perfect direction to pinch him in. Maybe that's what happened. We'll say that's what happened. I think it was actually something that needs to be fixed, but we'll say that's what happened. That he saw he was surrounded and decided to run, and he was able to get out by just fighting the raiders and fighting himself off the map. So let's go with that. That sounds great. I hope you're enjoying this. I'm still enjoying playing the game very much. I hope you got something out of this that's useful for you. I hope you'll like, comment, and subscribe, and join us for our next Manor Lords video. Thank you.